Hey there, and welcome to Curious Places. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the natural wonders of the world. The Grand Prismatic Spring. Now, if you haven't seen this spring firsthand, and have only seen this in photos, you might be tempted to think that the photo is photoshopped. But it really isn't. The Grand Prismatic Spring is actually that colorful and beautiful, and there is real science to explain every beautiful, and dangerous, thing you see going on at the Grand Prismatic Spring, at the Yellowstone National Park. The Grand Prismatic Spring, which is located in the Midway Geyser Basin, at the Yellowstone National Park, is the largest hot spring in the United States. It is also the third largest hot spring in the world, coming after the Frying Pan Lake in New Zealand and the Boiling Lake in Dominica. This beautiful hot spring was first officially described by a team of geologists in 1871 while working on the Hayden Geological Survey. This team of geologists also gave the spring its name after seeing its striking colors. So, when you look at the spring, you get mesmerized by beautiful bands of red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. Now, we know you want to know what's responsible for the iridescent coloring. And we will get into that, but just before we do that, there are other equally awe-inspiring facts about this hot spring that you should know. Let's begin with this one. The Grand Prismatic Spring is very hot. And no, it's not the nice kind of hot like a hot tub. It's the kind of volcanic hot that can kill you. This is why if you ever visit the Yellowstone National Park, you would be warned not to ever stray off the boardwalks. The water in the spring is about 160 degrees Fahrenheit and can sometimes get up to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. This extreme temperature can cause severe burns and in the worst cases can even lead to death. The hottest part of this spring is actually the middle where temperatures are usually around 189 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature is too hot for almost all forms of life, which is why the water at the middle of the spring is mostly sterile and devoid of all kinds of living organisms. Anyway, because you don't really find life in the middle of the Grand Prismatic, the color at the center is always a deep, striking, blue. There have been quite a few who tried to dive into this spring, but most never lived to tell the story. Even on what appears to be solid ground, one still has to be careful because you could literally punch through and land in boiling hot water. According to Yellowstone National Park, about 22 people have been killed by the Grand Prismatic Spring. That's more deaths by one geothermal feature than by lightning strikes or grizzly bears. Scary, right? In 2016, 23-year-old Colin Scott slipped and fell into the Grand Prismatic while looking for a place to swim. Unfortunately, he couldn't be rescued, neither could his remains be exhumed as the boiling hot acidic water not only killed him but dissolved his remains. Rangers have complained that numerous warning signs litter the park and they themselves continue to warn visitors, but people refuse to heed. Please, don't be people. If you ever visit Yellowstone, please protect yourself and never take your eyes off the kids if you take them. Second fact about the Grand Prismatic Spring is that it is large. Like a football field but on steroids. Although the Grand Prismatic is not the largest hot water spring in the world, it is the largest in the United States. It is larger than a football field with a diameter of 370 feet. In comparison, a gridiron measures 360 feet in diameter. As for depth, the Grand Prismatic goes down as deep as 121 feet, which is deeper than a 10-story building. Yellowstone, the national park in which it is located and which is also widely believed to be the first national park in the world, is also very large. It covers about 3,472 square miles or over 2.2 million acres, which makes it larger than the states of Delaware and Rhode Island combined. Its territory also stretches from Wyoming to Idaho and Montana, although it is seen as belonging to Wyoming since 98% of the park is located there. That said, we move to the third fact about the Grand Prismatic Spring. Can you guess how many things have been stuffed down the Grand Prismatic as well as other geysers and geothermal pools in Yellowstone? Well, we bet you can't. But they are a lot. From drones to couches, to handkerchiefs, to diapers, to pennies. But the problem is forcing these geothermal features to chow down on objects like these is destructive to their awe-inspiring colors, which draws people to them in the first place. In August of 2014, a drone crashed into the Grand Prismatic Spring and consequently disappeared into the 121-foot deep waters. The drone was illegally flown by a Dutch tourist called Theodorus van Villet, who was eventually ordered by a federal judge to pay $1,000 in fines and $2,200 in restitution. Scientists are afraid the missing drone, together with all the other items other tourists have dumped into the Grand Prismatic Spring, will soon begin to negatively impact on the pool's brilliant colors. In other words, if people continue to force things down this beautiful spring, the Grand Prismatic Spring would soon cease to be a wonder, just a garbage can like the once ethereal Morning Glory Pool now referred to as Fading Glory or Garbage Can. When the Morning Glory Pool was still in its glory days, no pun intended, visitors would vandalize the pool by throwing in coins, trash, and even one time, a couch, into the baby blue waters. Some others even went as far as cutting out small chunks of the scalloped border to take home as souvenirs. By 1950, the pool was siphoned, which caused it to erupt, throwing up all the items that had been thrown into it. Altogether, park officials counted 112 different objects ranging from socks to handkerchiefs to bath towels to $86.27 in pennies and $8.10 in other coins. Now, while it is quite possible to remove trash from geothermal pools, it is by no means easy to do this because these are violently hot water bodies we're talking about here. Park service staff have to use a long mechanical arm to remove trash, and from a safe, reachable distance too. So, if you ever check out the Grand Prismatic Spring, please, try to resist the urge to throw something in it in order to witness an eruption. Considering how much damage you'd be causing to the beautiful waters, it's best to leave the waters be so they stay beautiful forever. Alright, now we move to our number 4 fact about the Grand Prismatic Spring, which is the fact that it is the most photographed feature in Yellowstone National Park. Yes, it might not be as popular as Old Faithful, but the Grand Prismatic still remains the number 1 feature most people want to photograph when they go to Yellowstone. Getting the best shots of the Grand Prismatic usually depends on a few factors. You need to be at a good vantage point. You'd also need to be there at the right time. To capture this natural wonder in all its otherworldly beauty, your best shot at a great photo would be in the afternoon. Problem is, by then the park is already full of tourists with their buses and you won't find a place to park. And if you get there in the morning, there'll be a lot of steam hovering over the spring, so you might not get a decent shot. So, afternoons are your best shot. As for vantage point, if you could fly over the basin to get your shot, that would be amazing. But since most people won't be flying over the Grand Prismatic, you could also take really great shots at the Grand Prismatic Spring Overlook, which is 0.6 miles into the Fairy Falls Trail. And yeah, one more thing, make sure to make your trip to Yellowstone during summer to see the Grand Prismatic in all its beauty. The colors don't come out as beautifully during winter. Our 5th and final fact about the Grand Prismatic is the fact that we have bacteria to thank for the rainbow colors we observe in the Grand Prismatic. Some people think chemicals are behind the beautiful colors of the Grand Prismatic, but that's far from the truth. The credit has to go to a band of microorganisms known as cyanobacteria that flourish in these hot waters. And there are different groups of bacteria responsible for the different bands of colors you see. At the edge of the pool, you have the chlothric cyanobacteria, which produces the brown colors that frame the spring. The next color band, which is the orange color, is made possible by formidium, which enjoys temperatures of 45 to 60 degrees Celsius. After the orange color band is the yellow-green pigment caused by Synechococcus, which prefers temperatures of 72 degrees Celsius. We already mentioned that the middle of the spring is a deep, striking blue. It is also the hottest part of the spring and is too hot for most life forms. However, certain scientists suspect that a special microbe that thrives in near boiling water, known as aquifex, produces the sparkling blue color we find at the heart of the Grand Prismatic Spring. So, there you have it. 5 amazing facts about the Grand Prismatic Spring. If you enjoyed this video, then kindly subscribe to this channel for more like it. We'll catch you in the next one.